The hit reality show Dance Moms followed the ups and downs of life behind the scenes in the world of competitive dance. During its 9 seasons, some of its young stars became household names, including Nia Sioux. She joined the show at just 9 years old. She is now 24 years old, making a name for yourself off Broadway, on stage, on screen. We're so glad you're here today in Studio B, Nia.
Thanks, Derek. I'm happy to be here.
We're going to talk about the book, Bottom of the Pyramid, which, by the way, is a New York Times bestseller. Let's rewind, though. So, Dance Moms, you were 9 years old when all of us got to know you on this show. When you signed up, you and your mom really had no idea what you were signing up for, but you started dancing much earlier than that with the woman who a lot of people know on Dance Moms, the woman who yells a lot. She just yells. Abby Lee Miller, she yelled at you, she yelled at a lot of people. That's kind of what she became known for. What do you remember from that time when you first started dancing with her, even before the show?
Yeah, well, you know, one of my most asked questions that people always ask me is like, is the show real? Is Abby really
Was she
like
really that mean?
Was she really that mean? That's like probably the most asked question. And I always say like, yeah. And also like the book explains a lot of things that people didn't see as well, off-screen things that happened. But ever since I can imagine, I was like terrified of that woman because, you know, it's like this, this character, and I was so little, and the environment that I was in, you know, I just wanted to dance. I grew up as a dancer. That's my foundation. Those are my roots. And I've always just loved the stage, and, you know, to be a part of a dance team and have friends at a dance team, because, you know, at school, I didn't have the most friends at school. So my home was the dance studio, you know?
Like your extended family.
Exactly,
almost.
Exactly.
It's so much fun seeing these photos of you when you were so little and dancing. And I know the dance, like you said, an extended family, a community. You are absolutely adorable. And your strength, I mean, from these photos, and people might remember from Dance Moms, you were the only Black young dancer on this show. Is that correct?
Yeah, every now and then they would have Black dancers, but usually not for a long time. And then the last season, Cameron Bridges, she joined the show the 7th season. But besides that, I was the only Black girl on the show for like pretty much the whole time. And
it's interesting because the title of your book, Bottom of the Pyramid, I mean, this is figurative, but it's also literal.
Right.
Because you were the one who was often singled out as the weak link.
Yes.
You were, and honestly, I've been going back, and this was in Abby's eyes, by the way.
Yeah.
I've been going back and watching clips to these shows, and it's like kind of messed up. Like there were a lot of almost like racist microaggressions that were thrown at you.
Right.
You were just a young girl dancing, trying to do what you loved. How did you navigate all this?
Right. I mean, I feel like just being a young Black woman growing up in that environment, one, I know I'm not the only one who has been through certain experiences. You know, I share this experience with a lot of other, I would say, Black girls around the country specifically. And I think that's why the book resonates so much with them, because everyone has an Abby in their life. I mean, even if you're not Black, I feel like everyone has a person in their life that is negative towards them, that tries to bring them down, you know? And I think that's why my story resonates with so many people, is because a lot of us go through these experiences where you have to overcome, or you feel like you're not good enough. And that's what I went through on the show. It's a lot of, it took a lot of self-reflection, honestly, to like go back to those places of when I was little and how I felt during certain situations where I was the only one, and I felt like I stuck out in not a positive way, you know? And to be the only one and not really be able to like share with your friends how you feel or what you're going through, or having to always feel like you're perfect or on, because you don't want the storyline to turn into, oh, like not only is it the little Black girl who is the weak link, but she also has an attitude, and she's also angry, and she's so, you know, it's a lot of other things that you have to think about when you're on reality TV, especially as a young Black girl, that my counterparts probably didn't have to think about.
You are so grounded, and in those moments, looking at you as a young dancer, just doing your thing, When you think back to that time, in the moment when the unfairness was happening and when you were being singled out, and maybe in moments when you can't stand up for yourself,
Right.
because maybe it's embarrassing in front of other people or you're about to go on stage or whatever the reason you can't do it in the moment, were there times when in your mind you knew like, hey, this is messed up?
Yeah.
I'm being treated unfairly.
Oh, all the time. I mean, all the time. I felt like I was treated unfairly. And I think it's a good point that you bring up about like me maybe not being able to speak up. I feel like when I could speak up, I would, but at the same time, I was a child and it could be deemed as rude and
Yeah, like listen to the adult.
Exactly.
The adult is always right. All of these
Exactly.
things that so
It's
many
all
of us
the-
have
Of
always
course,
learned. Yeah.
of course, you learn to not talk back, and especially when to a teacher, someone who's supposed to be, someone who you're supposed to look up to, someone who you're supposed to trust. So there's all these factors that go into it. One, I was a child, and it's hard to advocate for yourself as a child too, because you don't really have the capability of like talking about your feelings, what you're going through. You can't really articulate what you're feeling. So I know a lot of people, another question I get asked a lot, why now? Why would you release a book about dance moms like so many years later? Yeah. And that's part of the reason. It's like, well, I was a child before. There's only so much you can say as a child because it can come off as disrespectful, but also because I didn't have the bandwidth to really like talk about or really understand what I was going through, even though I did, but I didn't. And it's a weird kind of vibe because you're growing up so fast and you have all these experiences, and I've lived so many lives, but at the same time I had to kind of really like take a step back and really dissect every single thing that happened. And that's why I waited so long to write the book, because I wasn't ready to write it before, and I think I was scared before too about how people would react. And now that I'm an adult and I feel like I can advocate for myself, I can speak up, I can speak my mind, and I don't have to hold back anymore.
The timing is right when the timing is right. And you don't have to explain that to anyone. This is your life and your book and your business. We should point out, Nia is now 24 years old, so it's been 15 years.
Yeah.
You've been living in the public eye. Before the show today, I was telling you how impressed I am with your mom, Dr. Holly.
Yeah.
Totally fell in love with Dr. Holly. She was your advocate. She was the voice of reason for you. And is it fair to say that she is the reason why you are so level-headed?
Absolutely. I mean, she's 100% the reason. My family, I've been extremely blessed with the people in my life. So, yep, that's my girl. That's
Look
my
at
girl.
that.
That's my twin. So yeah, she's still my best friend to this day. And I'm so beyond grateful that I had a mom like her on the show who not only advocated for me, but also was my best friend, and I could confide in her, and she always stuck up for me no matter what. She's everything to me.
She looks like she could be your sister.
She gets that a lot, yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Dr. Holly. So after leaving the show, you started acting.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize you had appeared on The Bold and the Beautiful.
Yeah.
Soap opera fans out there, you might know Nia from that. That must have been so exciting
Oh,
for
it was
you.
amazing. I love storytelling in like any capacity, and I remember I was so nervous when I first started Bold and the Beautiful, because it was like my first like scripted show that I had ever done.
And soap operas are intense,
Oh,
right?
they're
Like you
intense.
got to know your lines. They move fast because they're cranking them out.
Exactly. We did 2 episodes a day.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot. And there's a lot of dialogue. So it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. I miss it every day. Honestly, it was incredible. I love the people on set.
You weren't nervous at all?
Oh, I was nervous. Oh, absolutely. I was very nervous.
And how did you navigate that? Because I know, again, Dance Moms and Abby, it's like a very specific, arena where people are yelling at you constantly.
Yeah.
I'm hoping you didn't encounter that elsewhere in Hollywood. I loved
no.
working in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Some of the nicest, smartest
Yeah.
people I've ever encountered.
Of course. Yeah, and that's what I think I tell people that all the time, because I think people think that like child stars or kids who work in the industry, they have rough lives, which
Sometimes,
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. But I would say outside of Dance Moms, and there were good times on Dance Moms too. I don't want it to seem like I'm not grateful for the show, whatever, because it taught me so much. And
Well, 7 seasons, you stayed with it for quite a while.
exactly, yeah. So it taught me so much, and it's how I got my start in the industry. But I will say, I don't think I've been on a set that toxic ever after that.
Good. I hope you never will again.
Same.
In 2024, the Mean Girls remake you were part of.
Yes.
What was your role?
Well, it was actually, I just made a cameo in it, and it was amazing. It was so fun. I actually filmed it in my apartment, like on an iPhone. Isn't that crazy?
It's so cool.
Yeah, so cool. It's a fun thing to just tell people too. I'm like, oh yeah, I was in the Mean Girls movie.
I think it's a big deal.
It is a big deal. So that was really fun as well. I love getting a chance to just like play different roles and be a part of different projects, and they just, so many things keep like not unraveling, but like coming into fruition, and it's really amazing.
Coming full circle, right?
Full
and you
circle,
still
for
stay in touch with some of the other girls from
I
Dance
do,
Moms, is
yeah,
that right?
I do.
So what is that like? Is it sort of like going back and reconnecting with a high school or college friend?
I would say yeah. I would say yes. Some of the girls I'm still really close with. Actually, a bunch of us just went to Brooke Hyland's wedding back in February.
Oh, you all look beautiful here.
Oh, thank you. So that was really nice getting to reconnect with all the girls, and no matter whatever we go through, and like, there's always going to be behind the scenes stuff, but at the end of the day, like, we all shared that experience growing up on the show, and I'm really proud of what everyone has been able to do afterwards too.
Well, I think it's really cool. Again, 24 years old. You have lived more life than most of us will ever live in a lifetime. Listen, we're going to take a quick break with Nia Sioux. She'll stay with us. After the break, we're going to find out why she has come to Houston. We're also going to take a deeper dive into her memoir, Bottom of the Pyramid, a New York Times bestseller. That is when Houston Life returns. Okay, welcome back to Houston Life. We've been chatting with former Dance Mom star and author Nia Sioux, whose book, Bottom of the Pyramid, was released in November and became an instant bestseller. Is that right?
Correct, yeah.
Were you surprised that people were clamoring to read this?
I was beyond excited. I mean, it really is an honor to be able to like share my story and like to this magnitude, and I'm so grateful how receptive people have been, because when you release something, especially like writing your story, you're very vulnerable, and I'm literally just putting myself out there. So I was really hoping that people understood where I was coming from, but I think before releasing it, had made peace with some people aren't going to like my story. Some people aren't going to agree with it. Some people, might have things to say about it, their own concerns, and I've had to let those thoughts go, because at the end of the day, this is my truth, and
it's your story.
It's my story, and whether people like it or not, this is who I am. So I also have to come to terms with that as well. That maybe not everyone's gonna love it, but I'm so happy with like the feedback and the reception of it. It's been awesome. It's been amazing.
Do you feel a sense of relief or almost like a weight's been lifted off your shoulders just that you've kind of put your truth out there?
Yes, I feel like I can actually breathe. I feel like when I used to do interviews before, I rarely talked about Dance Moms and my experience, because I felt like I didn't really have a place to really talk about what I really went through, or I was too scared to speak up about what I went through, or, it's hard to be in a situation where you're telling your story in like a few minutes, So I knew that a book was like the perfect medium to tell my story, instead of doing like an Instagram video or YouTube video or like a inside interview or something. I was like, a book is perfect because I actually get to take time, think about what I'm saying, be very careful with the words that I use. And so, yeah, I would say it was very nerve-wracking, but at the same time, I feel amazing now, and I feel like I can actually talk about like what I went through and be proud of it as well.
I'm really happy for you.
Thank you.
I'm guessing that some of our viewers are probably wondering if you have stayed in touch with Abby Lee Miller. I know the answer to this because you reached out to her when she got sick. She was diagnosed with an illness, and you reached out. She refused the contact.
Yeah, she refused, and I talk about that in the book, and how that it was like my last kind of like, because you know what, no matter what happens, everything that happened on the show and after the show and whatever, I would never wish illness or anything bad to someone, not my worst enemy, and it's in those moments where it's like I always try to lead with love, and I always try to do what's on my heart, you know? And on my heart that day was to reach out and just send like some kind of love and thoughtfulness. And if she didn't want it, it's fine. I mean, hey, I did what I
high road.
I took the high
You took
road,
the
and
high
that's
road.
all I can do. And I'm proud of that. I think that it shows, I guess, my character, because I think I was like 16 at the time when I did that, 16 or 17. Yeah, that's a long time. Like, I'm 24 now, you know? So I'm really proud of myself for even doing that at that time as well, because I hadn't been all the way healed from stuff that happened on the show, you know? So yeah, but I talk about that experience in my book and how it made me feel and how I went about that. Yeah.
I'm sure people also ask you about, hey, my daughter's really interested in dance, or my son really wants to dance. And when I was younger, Nia, I guess I don't know, sheltered, and I used to think that doing what you love was enough. But as I've gotten older, I realized no matter what you're interested in, people are usually the barrier. You're always going to have that person who is telling you who they think you are,
Always.
even though you know that's not true. You're always going to have people you encounter who are yelling at you and nasty for whatever issue they're dealing with. So when you see other young dancers, what do you say to them to encourage them to keep going? And not just dancers, people who are following their passion.
Yeah, well, I think I talk a lot about that in the book, because I know that so many people share the same kinds of experiences and feelings. And I always say, like, know your worth. I think that's something that I've just taken with me like my whole life. My mom says it to me all the time, especially growing up, just to know my worth. And I think just taking a second to realize how far you've come, and like, yes, you have so far to go, but also remembering how far you've come as well is really grounding. And starring in your own life, you know? I think that's like the subtitle to my book, starring in my own
Memoir
life.
of preserving, dancing for myself, and starring in my own life.
Yeah, and starring in my own life. And that's a quote that I take with me every day, you know? Like, no one else gets to dictate your life but you, and no one gets to define success or who you're supposed to be. That's you. You're the lead role in your life, and no one gets to take that away from you.
It's so well said.
Yeah.
Plus, you only have one life, so make it
Exactly.
count, right?
Make it count.
Hey, can you fill us in on this book tour? Because from the moment you became an instant New York Times bestseller back in November, you've been on the road,
Yes.
hitting cities like Houston. You're making your way to Dallas. We don't say that often on our show. I'm kidding. We love Dallas. And Austin. But tonight you're going to be at Mockingbird in Katy.
I am. I'm so excited to meet everyone. I feel like anytime I do these book signings, I meet such incredible people. I get to talk to them, hear their stories as well, and get to connect in that way. And it's been so special. It's been so, so special.
Well, you've been hustling and working hard on this book tour. Here's the info. Tonight, 7 p.m., Mockingbird Books in Katy. We have posted on our website more info about that. Also, can you tell us briefly, you're doing a show called 11 to Midnight.
Yes.
This is off-Broadway. You're going to be at the Orpheum Theater in New York City, the legendary Orpheum.
Yeah, I am beyond excited for that. That news literally just hit on Monday, and I am just so excited for this next step. I think a lot of people have been asking me, you know, online or like in an interview, they're like, what's next for you? And I kept telling them, I was like, I don't know, but whatever it is, it's gonna be good, it's gonna make sense. And I've been telling people I've been training, and it's perfect. And I cannot wait to be back up on stage doing what I love to do, dancing, and like going back to my roots. And I think it's gonna be such a full circle moment for so many people, and people who have followed me and supported me for so many years. It's gonna be a really great way to kind of bring them into my life now as a dancer. It's gonna be extremely special, and it's such an honor to be back on stage off Broadway. It's been 10 years since I've done theater off-Broadway show, and so it's so good to be back and getting to work with Costin Mayer. They're the choreographers, and it's their show, and I'm just beyond excited to work with them. I think that they're amazing, and yeah, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm very excited.
We're excited for you. And Nia, you have worked so hard
Thank
to
you.
get where you are today. We're so proud of you. A New York Times bestselling author. Not a lot of people can say that. And through the hard times, I appreciate that you've always taken the high road.
Oh, thanks, Derek.
Yeah, give your mom a high five, too.
Oh, I will, I
Dr.
will.
Holly, you did a good job. She turned out very well. Nia Sioux, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Best of luck. Have fun in Dallas and Austin. We're going to see you off-Broadway next month in May. By the way, on our website, we do have a link to Nia's book and to RSVP to tonight's book signing. Just look for that scene on Houston Life section of our website, houstonlife.tv.